No. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. This morning we're going to be talking about price guides. I reckon this is one of the biggest conversations I have all day, every day of my career. So today we're going to unpack them a little bit for you. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Price guide, you little heartbreaker, you.
Seriously, it is these are conversations, Mark, that we just have as real estate agents all day, every day. And I'm well aware that the whole price guide conversation changes state by state. I'm well aware that Queensland's got a different set of laws. Um, but and I'd be interested to hear if there's any real estate agents on here. Maybe Luke can unpack that a little bit for us, if Luke tunes in. But Mark, let's talk about price guides. What is the definition of a price guide? Let's talk about what it actually means, a price guide, because a lot of people, they just don't know.
Look, I think it's a really frustrating thing if you walk into anywhere and there's not a price. And you're like, how much? And they go, well, what do you think? And you're like, oh, shit, I don't want to have this conversation. You know, when you look at buying a car, you love having the prices on the windscreen. When you look at buying a property, you love it. It is much easier for a buyer. But even as an agent, sometimes our owners don't want us to give out that price guide of the property. And you're talking to, sometimes hundreds of people without being able to give them a guide. It's so frustrating for the buyer. I get it.
And guess what? Sometimes it can be equally as frustrating for a real estate agent. So let's just talk about for a sec what price guide actually means. As real estate agents here in New South Wales, we used to be able to use the word offers over $750,000, which meant the obvious. Bring us an offer over $750,000, we'll take it to the vendor. That got
Yep.
changed. Fair Trading came along and said, no, 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 no more offers over. Now you must use the word guide. But does it really mean the same thing? Pretty much, yes, it does. So, I'm always explaining to buyers is the guide accurate? Yes, the guide's accurate. And I understand why a buyer would ask that, because I cannot tell you how many times I see on the real estate portals a property launch and it's got a guide, and I'm just going, I'm so sorry. Like, how did that real estate agent get that guide? There's 40 other properties like this one that are on the market. And that one to me looks like it's about $100,000 cheaper. This is for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment than anything else.
200,000. Yeah.
I saw one launch the other day and I was like, really? Really? I don't know how they got that guide. So I
It's
get that a
obscene.
lot
You
of,
know what? It's actually heartbreaking because it's false, misleading, and deceptive conduct, and we can spot it a mile away. And I reckon most buyers can sometimes as well, and it just discredits the agent that's doing it. So some guides, no guides gives you the shit, but guides that are like super low to bait prospective purchasers in, no good either.
no good. And guess what? Like, I don't need, as a very, very active real estate agent, I can tell you right now, I don't need 50 people at my open home. Um, you know, 35 or 40 of which just could never afford the property anyway. I just don't, I don't need that. And I agree with you, Mark. I think it is very, very deceptive. So, with respect to guides, please understand that the vast majority of real estate agents will put a guide on that is relative to a couple of things. One of those things that we've based the guide on is recent, and I want to underline and bold and highlight the word recent, properties that have sold within that area. Apple for Apple properties. The other one is our market knowledge. And I want to talk with you, Mark, in a sec about the market, because something's changed over the last couple of weeks. Um, So that, they're the two things that we base our price guides on: recent sales that have taken place and our market knowledge of what we know about the area and what is happening currently with the market. That's what we base our guides on. So guides too low, shocking, absolutely shocking. Total waste of everybody's time: the buyers, the agent, and the vendors. So, I have to say we really, really keep our property prices, our property price guides, I should say, as realistic as we possibly can. Sometimes they're not right. Guess what? I had a 2-bedroom apartment that I launched a couple of weeks ago, and I remember saying to my vendor, look, this is an absolute realistic opinion of value on your property. And he goes, no, 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 I want more, I want more. I said, that's okay. If there's more, I'll get it for you. I guarantee you. And guess what, Mark? We launched it with a guide of 765. It was a tiny little 2-bedroom apartment in DY, and sure enough, that weekend we had a significant amount of offers, and they were all bopping around that high sevens. What did I do? I lifted my guide.
So what's the stretch that's allowed, or how much can you catapult from what you got asking guide to where it sells for that's acceptable? What's the stupid number and what's the acceptable number? So for instance, if it's 750 and it sells for 950, is that ridiculous?
Yeah, ridiculous for a 2-bedroom apartment. Yes, and please understand, that 1 and 2-bedroom apartments are in a very different category to luxury homes. And I see it all because I do deal with 1 to 2-bedroom apartments, and I do deal with 8, 10, $20 million properties. I see both ends of the spectrum. So a $200,000 variance for a high-end property is not a huge variance whatsoever. A $200,000 variance for a 1 or 2-bedroom apartment is absolutely ridiculous. Something's gone on there, in my opinion. I have had that happen once with an apartment in my career, and that was a 3-bedroom apartment that we launched in DY. Where my opinion of value on that property was circa 1.35 to 1.45, and we took it to auction. And what happened at auction? It went $540,000 above the reserve. 21 bidders. It was just a cracking apartment, and we just had 2 people that wanted it.
So what's a
That was an
percentile that's
anomaly.
acceptable?
10%. 10% variance. 10% variance.
Not bad.
So, look, the price guide conversation is always a hard one. It's a tricky one with buyers, and it's a tricky one with sellers. I want to go through with you guys a conversation that I had yesterday with a vendor. That it was a very, very interesting conversation, and I had a real estate agent reach out to me during the week asking me how these conversations go. So I'd really love to unpack that with everybody. But Mark, I want to talk about something interesting that I'm seeing that's happening in the real estate market at the moment. So, couple of properties down in Curl, phenomenal area of the Northern Beaches. For those of you guys that don't know, it's just a few beaches around from Manly. Many people do know Manly. It's a big tourist area, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the Northern Beaches. So Curl, a few beaches down, amazing location, probably one of my favourite spots on the Northern Beaches. 2 luxury homes. One launched a week and a half ago with a guide of $7.6 million. And I have to admit, I looked at it and thought, that looks like unbelievable values. Beachfront, house is about 20 years old, needs a bit of work, needs a lot of work, but seems like a really, really good guide. A week and a half later, a client gets a text after the property had launched saying, new price guide, $7 million. And I'm going, that's interesting. Another property, beautiful property, unbelievable home, totally turnkey.
Motivated vendor.
That tells me motivated vendor. It tells me a couple of things. It tells me motivated vendor, and it tells me not enough interest at that level. The market dictates the price. The buyers are the judges. That's it. Full stop. The buyers aren't the judges. Do you agree, Mark?
Yep. You know what? People will vote with their money. And when they see a property and when they see value, they'll put their hand up and vote with their money. And I think when it's had enough time, an hour or two on the market, sure, it's not enough time, but 3 or
Yeah.
4 months, way too much time. So there's sort of this, as long as it's on the market for long enough, it's had air, it's been exposed well. That's the price.
Couldn't agree more. Another property, second property, also in Curl, amazing home, beautiful views. I haven't been through these properties, guys, but buyers are telling me I've got a few properties on the market in that location. The buyers are telling me. That one had a guide of around 10 to 10.5 mil. It was never displayed. But now it is, and now it's guiding 8.5. And that has been on the market for a really, really long time. But a lot of the buyers are going, aha, the market is dropping, it's crashing. This is what's going on out here. Now, anything that I'm seeing, they got their guns all blazing in the air. Now, anything that I see that's guiding this, I'm going to be offering that. And it's like, no, that is definitely not what's going on out here. Sometimes, guys, as real estate agents, we can go in and go, that's our opinion of value. And then the market comes in and tells us something else. But the
Or an
numbers
owner,
don't lie.
owner says, "Thanks, Lisa, for your opinion, but I want you to put $1 million more on it, and see how you go."
But Mark, the numbers don't lie. So yesterday I had a vendor meeting with a property, and I'm not going to say which one, but a property has been on the market for a very, very long time. It was on with another real estate agent for over 400 days. And then it came on with me over 400 days. Then it came over to me and it's been on the market with me for over 100 days. And that's been the situation there where the vendor's going, I'm not selling for less than that. That's what my property's worth. So yesterday I went and sat with her, loveliest lady. Yesterday I sat with her and I played a game of show and tell. And I took all the properties that have been selling in her market, selling all around her. So I did a 2-kilometre radius and I went, okay, let's play a game of show and tell. And I held up all these properties on A4 pieces of paper and I went, that one sold for X. Do you think that's better or worse than your property? Next one, this one sold for Y. Do you think that's better or worse? Anyway, I went through half a dozen of them. And her response to me was, why are you showing me all the cheap properties, Lisa? And I said, I'm not showing you the cheap properties. Some of these properties we've agreed are better than yours and they didn't sell cheaply. They sold where the market saw value in that property. That's what we call market price, market value. So, at the end of the day, vendors that don't want to do what we call meet the market, when the buyers have come through collectively and said, this is what I think it's worth and this is why, when vendors don't want to meet the market, they've got two options. One is meet the market. Two is hold your property and wait for the market to come up. And we don't know when that is. We don't have a date in our diary for that. I wish we did. It would be a lot easier.
What about firing your real estate agent's ass?
Well, they can, but you've got to ask yourself, Mark, and she did do that because the last agent did have that property on the market for over 400 days. So you've got to honestly wonder, is it the market or is it the agent? They're the questions you've got to ask yourself.
Well,
Because
it's
if
one of
you
three things. It's price, it's product, or it's promotion. So can the promotion be done better? Promotions vary far and wide. Can the product be presented better? Painting the property, carpeting the property, things like that. Price, product, promotion. Can the price be better?
But not only that, Mark, I think, if you're with an agent who is a highly transacting agent, you know, if they've sold one property and then your property has sat with them for 400 days, I think, you know, you probably got to say, well, is it the market or is it the agent? You know, I don't know. But, you know, if you're with a highly transacting agent, you'll go, hang on a second. They're selling every single property. They're selling a huge amount of property. It's just mine that's not going, or it's mine and a couple of others that aren't going. You know, like, I think you can start to kind of work things out for yourself.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, and I'm always saying this to my vendors, the buyers are the judges. You know, I've got a property that's on at the moment, and it's evident to me where their property sits in the market. Never been clearer. And you know, they need an extra $50,000 to $100,000, and the gap just can't be closed because every buyer that comes through goes, it's this, it's this, it's this, and they're saying, why can't we just get the extra? It's like, well, because the market just doesn't see value there.
Yep.
Please understand, guys, as real estate agents, you know, the vast majority of real estate agents out there are phenomenal at their craft, but we are not magicians. We're just not, you know,
Nope.
it's hard to extract sometimes as little as 50 grand if the market's just not there. That's what we call above market value.
And people don't have to. Like, it's like picking fruit. Why would you pick the fruit that's overripe or underripe when you got fruit there that's actually perfect? Do you know what I mean? So why would you? It's not like people don't have a selection. They've got a selection. They've got other great properties that they can. So as those properties are being chosen, as those properties are being sold, and you're not, the writing's on the wall.
The writing's on the wall. You know, I do have one of those properties at the moment, and it's taken a little while for the vendor to come to terms with the fact that that's actually what their property's worth. You know, it's a hard pill to swallow. I know it. We've been in that situation ourselves, Mark.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is a hard pill to swallow. And sometimes it does take time. It can take 12 weeks for a vendor to understand that that's where the market sees value. And sometimes a vendor's situation can change as well. I've got a number of those at the moment, you know, where we've met the market on price. We understand now where it is clearly the vendor agrees. And then the vendor goes, you know what, Lisa, I've found something now that I would like to buy. Let's move this on because I've
Yep.
found something and that's really important to me and I don't want to miss out on it. Let's move that property along. I've got a number of those at the moment. And we have found the market, and I've got a number of offers on a particular actually a couple of phenomenal properties at the moment. You know, where buyers are going, well, I don't understand. The guide looks good. Why is it not selling? Is something wrong with the property? You know, transactions at this
Interesting.
stage, guys, I'm finding are taking a little while to pull together. There's a lot going on. We've had a lot of interest rate rises. Financing is not a walk in the park. You don't just call your bank manager these days, send them a couple of pay slips and get an approval. Getting finance is hard. People, I'm finding, particularly at the high end mark, have got a lot going on in the background, selling businesses, huge amount of overseas buyers, never seen so many, but a lot of them don't yet have their permanent residency. And so they're waiting on that. Yeah. Excuse me, and international buyers that don't have permanent residency that do want to buy property in this country have got to pay 12% stamp duty. That's not a small amount of money.
No.
Not a small amount of
Very
money.
interesting. Anything else to talk about in the property market today, Lise?
I think it's the calm before the storm. I'm glad that we're documenting this. I think it's the calm before the storm. There is talk out on the street that some of those fixed and variable interest rates are going to start to come down, not through the RBA, but through the individual banks themselves. I've heard that a number of times now. That'll be interesting to see if that is the case, maybe as much as 0.75%. But I do think it's the calm before the storm. Stock levels on the northern beaches have dropped by over 100 properties in the last week. So that means some stock is transacting. Again, where vendors have met the market, some stock is transacting. and it's not being replenished. A lot of buyers agents are saying to me, Lisa, where's all the stock? Are you seeing more stock coming on?
Very interesting. So interest rates are tripled and the market still does well. Stock doubles and the market still does well. It's quite resilient. I'm really surprised. I'm really, really surprised.
It is resilient. Yes. Mark, have we got any comments? What's going on out there today? It's very quiet. Mark's very quiet too.
I'm struggling.
Mark's,
I've got allergy.
Mark's
Yeah.
got man flu.
Man flu. Yeah.
Mark
And
has man flu.
my light failed as well. It's been a couple of things today, you know, it's been hard.
Can I just tell the world, Mark, you with man flu is you're not too bad. You're not too bad. Mark's not that person that goes, I'm sick, like tells the whole world. Mark actually doesn't like to tell anyone that he's not feeling well. But what he does do is like will just cough and sneeze like there is an earthquake taking place. That's what Mark does do. But all in all, I must say he's pretty good. Not too needy when he has man flu. The girls out there will know what I'm talking about. Just don't give it to me. Don't give it to me.
Yep. I hope it's not COVID.
I don't know. Does that exist anymore? Does anyone even talk about that?
Yeah, but no one really gets sick from it. They just sort of tell everyone they got COVID and everyone goes, oh my God, and then it's gone a couple of days later.
Stay home.
Yeah.
All right, any comments out there today?
No comments.
Very quiet out there. Very, very quiet.
Right.
All right, guys, we hope that has helped some of you out there this morning about the guides. If you've ever got any questions, always ask. If you ever have suspicions about a guide, ring a real estate agent and ask them. But the best thing to do is go onto the sold section of realestate.com or domain and have a look at what similar properties are selling for and work it out for yourself. It's not too hard to do, particularly when we're talking about that kind of volume stock, the 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. It's generally pretty easy to work it out. And sometimes properties do sell well over everyone's expectation. And, you know, there's certain times we just can't control that. I've had that happen, you know, a number of times. We just can't control that. You know, great property will always sell.
You did really well today, Liz, for a 10-minute show.
Thanks, Mark. There was lots to talk about. It's a very, very important topic today. I appreciate it.
And bye-bye to summer.
That's it. Summer's over. Yep. Rainy day today. Summer's over.
And hello to, is it autumn?
Autumn. Yep, autumn. Guys, have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you later.
Thanks for listening to Lisa. Bye.